Imagine this. You wake up one day to find out that everything you learned in school about the Earth being round is not true. Instead, it's flat, like a giant pancake floating in space. This sounds crazy, right? But let's think about what this could mean for us. First off, getting from one place to another would be a whole lot easier. If the Earth were flat, you could see far-off places with just a strong telescope. No hills, no curves, just straight flat land. This would make trips seem shorter and navigation a breeze. Now think about time zones. They can be super confusing with a round Earth, especially when you travel. On a flat Earth, time zones would be much simpler. There'd be no need to change your watch as you travel east or west. It's like the whole world would be on the same clock. Also, with a flat Earth, we'd have a whole new way of seeing the sun and stars. Maybe we'd have longer days, or even see the sun in a different way. It'd be like living in a new world with new rules for daylight and night. And then there's space and stars. On a flat Earth, we'd see the stars and planets differently. Maybe we'd discover new stars, or see the ones we know in a whole new light. Think about it. No more telescopes struggling to see over the curve of the Earth. Astronomers could just point their telescopes straight up and see everything clear as day. This could mean new discoveries in space, things we can't even imagine right now. It's like opening a new door to the universe, one that's been right under our noses the whole time. First off, let's talk about gravity, or the lack of it, on a flat Earth. Gravity is what keeps us from floating off into space, and it's because our planet is a big round ball. But in a flat world, gravity would be all messed up. You might be walking along and suddenly feel super heavy, or you could just start floating away. Buildings, cars, even whole cities could just break off and drift into the sky. Imagine looking up to see skyscrapers and trees floating above you, then crashing down without warning. It would be total chaos, with no way to predict where or when the next disaster would strike. Now, let's dive into the weather on this flat Earth. Forget everything you know about seasons and predictable weather. We're talking extreme, non-stop storms, scorching heat in some places, and freezing cold in others. Oceans would slosh back and forth wildly across the flat surface, creating giant waves that could wipe out coastal cities in a heartbeat. It would be like the worst hurricane you can imagine, but all the time and everywhere. The sun would beat down mercilessly in some places, turning them into barren deserts. In other areas, it would be eternal darkness and cold, like living in a never-ending winter night. Speaking of oceans, let's get into how they would act. Without gravity holding them in place, oceans would be unchained monsters. We'd see tidal waves hundreds of feet high, crashing over land and sweeping everything away. Sea creatures would be tossed onto land, and boats would be lost in the chaos. The seas would become no-go zones, with waves big enough to swallow whole islands. Fishermen would be out of work, and seafood would become a thing of the past. It would be like living in a world where the ocean is a constant, unstoppable force of destruction. The flat Earth would be a death sentence for so many animals and plants. Without the right light and heat from the sun, entire forests could die off. Animals that rely on specific habitats would find those places gone. We'd see mass extinctions like never before. Birds might not be able to navigate, getting lost and dying in large numbers. Crops wouldn't grow right, leading to widespread famine. Imagine going to the store and finding empty shelves, not because of a temporary shortage, but because most plants can't grow in this twisted, flat world. Now think about farming. Our whole system of growing food relies on the seasons and weather patterns of a round Earth. On a flat Earth, all that is thrown out the window. We're talking about a world where you plant seeds and either they fry in the unrelenting sun or they freeze in perpetual shadow. We'd be left scrambling to find ways to feed everyone. People would be fighting over the little food that's left. It would be a daily struggle to find enough to eat, with no relief in sight. Getting around in this flat world would be a nightmare too. Since Earth's magnetic field would be all out of whack, compasses would be useless. We'd have no GPS, since satellites wouldn't work right without the Earth's curve. Air travel would be incredibly risky, if not impossible, because of the crazy weather and lack of reliable navigation. Roads and bridges would be destroyed by the shifting gravity and extreme weather. It would be like living in a world where every trip outside your door is a dangerous adventure. Think about the impact on our solar system and time itself. Without the Earth's round shape, the way we understand planets moving around the sun would be wrong. Days might last for weeks or months, or the sun might never set at all. The moon, which controls the tides, would have an unpredictable and dangerous influence. Seasons would be a thing of the past. It would mess up everything from growing food to just figuring out what time it is. We'd be living in a world where time itself doesn't make sense anymore. Lastly, imagine the Earth's landscape. Without the forces that shape around Earth, we'd have no mountains, no deep ocean trenches, none of the beautiful landscapes we know. Waterfalls would cease to exist, replaced by strange, flat rivers that go nowhere. The natural wonders of the world would be gone, replaced by a bland, featureless plain. It would be a world devoid of the beauty and diversity we take for granted. In this flat, lifeless world, the very essence of what makes our planet special would be lost forever. But hey, at least our world is perfectly shaped into an oblate spheroid, or an irregularly shaped ellipsoid. Whatever floats your boat, but the consequences of a flat Earth won't happen here. And in the end, we just have to appreciate the beauty and grace of the very planet we live in, until we have to move to another one.